Hi everyone, I hope everybody is keeping safe and we are following the WHO guidelines as it relates to this pandemic. Now I'm here again. We'll be doing another topic in food, nutrition and health. My name is Angelica Fredericks and I welcome you all. Now we'll be looking at eggs and eggs cookery. Under eggs and eggs cookery, we'll be looking at the sources and parts of the egg, the nutritive value and uses of eggs in cooking, effects of heat on eggs. Sources of eggs basically means where do we get eggs from? Eggs that we eat normally on a normal basis, that is. Because I know we're going to get some weird answers like I would normally get in class, like snakes and fishes and so on. I mean, some people do indulge in those kinds of delicacies, but we're looking at normal, common sources of eggs. And we have that one. Yes, that would be the hen's egg. Then we have that one, and it would be the duck's egg. And we have goose eggs. So three common sources of eggs would be hens, ducks, and goose. Great. Now we're about to look at whether or not you can tell the difference. I mean, some persons can tell the difference. So here we go. Can you tell the difference between the eggs? Which one is the hens, which one is the ducks, and which one is the geese eggs? Now, there we go. So the larger egg there would be the one from the goose, sorry, not the geese, the goose. The other one would be from the duck, and the smaller one would be from the hen, and that's a large hen's egg. Parts of an egg. Now, an egg has many parts, and we're going to start with the outer parts of the egg, which is the shell of the egg. Now, in the shell of the egg is the outer covering of the egg, and it's composed largely of calcium carbonate. And the color of the egg does not affect the egg quality. So you have white eggs and brown eggs, and some of us will say, hey, that's not brown egg is not good egg because it comes from the yard fowl, as we say yardie. But the color of the shell does not have an effect on the quality of the hen or even the shell thickness. The shell is made up of protein and calcium carbonate, but mostly calcium carbonate, which is in its layman term would be chalk. Now it may be white or brown depending on the breed of the egg. Alright, so we're going from the shell and we're going to under the shell, which we have is the air cell or the air space. That is the pocket that is found in that shell as you might see at the bottom of the shell. When you crack the egg open, you would see that pocket. Now that is caused by a contraction of the contents during cooling after laying. Now during cooling, when the hen would have laid or the goose would have laid the eggs, it would have been warm or heated, and then when it cools, there's an air pocket that forms. Now if the larger the airspace, it tells the age of the egg, so it increases in the size as the egg ages. So it's a large pocket of air found at the base of the egg. Then we're going to the shell membranes, and there are two shell membranes. You have the inner shell membrane and you have the outer shell membrane. Now, the inner shell, let's look at the outer shell membrane. Now, it provides a protective barrier against bacterial penetration. Air cell forms between these two membranes. So you have this thin film that actually protects the egg from getting bacteria into it. So we have the outer one, the one that the shell membrane that's on the shell, that's called the cuticle. Now it's something that you cannot really see, or it shines. You get more into detail as we go along, so you know exactly. But the cuticle is found on the shell of the egg itself, and the one that under the shell, that's the other membrane. Then we have the thin albumin, which is also known as the white. Now there are two whites, the thin white and the thick white. The thin white is closer to the shell. It spreads around, it's nearest to the shell, and it spreads around thick white of high quality egg. Now the thick white is a major source of the egg riboflavin and protein. Now riboflavin is a B vitamin, and that is closer to the yolk, and you'll be able to see those two distinctly once the egg is fresh. When you crack the egg, you're able to identify the thin white and the thick white right away. Then we have the yolk. The yolk is the yellow portion of the egg. The color varies on the feed of the hen. Sometimes the yolk can be yellow, sometimes it can be orange. That is the major source of the egg's vitamins, minerals, and fat. Now, never mind it being yellow or orange, it does not indicate the nutritional value. And we have the germinal disc, which is also known as the embryo or the young chick. That's where the young chick would form. Then you have the yolk membrane, which holds the yolk into content that is closer. It holds the yolk's content that is closer to the yolk. And you have the Chalazae. In other words, you would say, to try to explain it to students, would be the navel string of the young chick. The Chalazae is the cord-like substance that anchors the egg in one place when it's being shipped, the egg yolk in one place when it's being shipped, so it doesn't shift. So the Chalazae is also where the young chick feeds through. So we say it's like the navel string. In layman terms, we say that is the rank of the egg. So we're going to the part so you can actually see what they look like. So we have the cuticle, as you see there. The shining of the egg tells that the cuticle is on. We wash off the cuticle as we wash the egg. It's a thin film. And the shell, as well as the shell membrane, as you see they're tearing off their shell membrane. Then we have the egg whites. We have the thin white, as you see there, and we have the thick white, as you see there. Egg is clearly fresh because you can distinctly tell between the two. Then we have the yolk and yolk membrane, or the vitelline. That is closer to the yolk membrane. And also you have the yolk. Then we have the air space, the Chalazae, and the embryonic disc, or the young chick, as you might say. That one would be the air space. And we have the Chalazae, as is seen there, what we call the rank. And then you have the embryonic disc, the white spot on the yolk of the egg. Question. The main parts of the egg are of something types: A3, B4, C5, D6. There are three main parts of the egg: the shell, the white, and the yolk. Now the thin film found under the shell is called, this is the yolk membrane, the cuticle, the shell membrane, or the Chalazae. Keep it in mind. So when you're answering multiple choice question, you try to eliminate. You do what is called elimination. For instance, you might say an odd one out, you eliminate that one first. Now it says the thin film found under the shell. Now the yolk membrane and the shell membrane and the Chalazae is found under the shell, yes. But remember, we said the cuticle is found on the shell, so we eliminate B right away. Alright, then we already said the yolk membrane too is found around the yolk, closer to the yolk. And then we have the Chalazae, which is, we also said that's the navel string, as you might say, the navel string of the young chick, or the rank. And we know that's not under the shell. So right away you're able to see that the answer there is C, which is the shell membrane. See? Yes, the shell membrane as is seen there, and as it is seen there as well. Next question. Which of the following part of the egg is a protective covering found under the shell of the egg? We just had that question, and those were your answers. Over the shell of the egg. Sorry, that's not the question that we just had. So we just discussed something, but you see how a question can stray you if you're not paying attention. Good. So it says here the protective covering found over the shell of the egg. We know the air space is in, the Chalazae is in the shell of the egg, and the shell membrane is right under the shell. This is a protective covering found over the shell, and that will be C, the cuticle. Once it has that glow there, you can see that the cuticle is on. Which one of the following nutrient in egg is easily digested by most people, especially when it is lightly cooked? Protein, fat, water, carbs. Again, you work elimination process here. Alright. Now the egg white versus the egg yolk. The egg white, it would have 17 calories, 3.6 gram of protein, 0.05 gram of fat. The yolk, 55 calories, 2.7 gram of protein, and 4.75 gram of fat. Then you have the whole egg, 72 calories, 6.3 grams protein, and 4.55 gram of fat. The question says which one of the following nutrient in egg is easily digested by most people, especially when it is lightly cooked. Now, most parts of the egg, as you would have noticed, has a high amount of protein. You see protein, that is very common there. Alright, so it means it's a source of protein. So right away you eliminate carbohydrates, because you know carbohydrates, you won't really get a high amount of carbohydrates from animal foods. We're going to look at the next lesson where we look at carbohydrates. That leaves water, fat, and protein. Eggs wouldn't really have much water, actually. And so we're left with fat and protein. Now, we're thinking about nutrient that is easily digested, which means the nutrient has to be there. And to be honest with you, when you think about frying an egg, most fats are lost. And so it's not digested. It won't be able to be digested. So that leaves us with protein. Now, protein is a nutrient found very much in egg. Now, if the egg is lightly cooked, then the protein is easily digested. You're able to see the protein in egg, especially from the egg white. When you're frying an egg, the egg white starts to coagulate or set, changing its color when you're frying it, or even where you won't be able to see it when you're boiling it, because when boiling it in the shell. More so when you're frying it. Alright, you're able to observe that this clear substance, which is the egg whites, it's changing its color to white now, or it's opaque now. It's no longer transparent, and that is the protein setting or protein coagulating. Now, if you overcook that, you over fry the egg, then protein will be difficult to digest, and so it will be passed as waste. If you overboil egg, and how you know if you overboil the egg, the iron sulfide within egg yolk has protein as well as iron sulfide, changes to gray, and that's how you know you overboil it. Now, eating that wouldn't really make much sense, saying that you would get the protein there, because that's a sign of overcooking. It's not cooked lightly or just right, and so digestion will be difficult in that case. Protein in cooked eggs is 180% more digestible than in raw eggs. So those who say I'm getting my protein from raw eggs, I'm going to eat it raw just like that, I'm going to get my protein, it's not so easily digestible. Uses of eggs in cooking, or what we call eggs cookery. Now, eggs can be used as a garnish. When you boil the egg, you do hard boiled egg and you slice it and you can put it on salads. It is used as a thickening agent. The egg white ability to coagulate or set thickens dishes, for example in custard. That's the reason why we use the egg in the custard. It's there to thicken the custard. We have emulsification. Now there are cases Not their cases. It's absolute known fact that oil and water does not mix by itself. If you add a little oil to that water, it would flow to the top. It wouldn't mix. Now, to enable oil and water, for example, in mayonnaise to be mixed, eggs are there as an emulsification agent or emulsifier. Binding. Now, egg sets when it's cooked and it holds ingredients together. Example, in burgers, we're talking about the meat in the burgers there, or in egg balls, the cassava, where you add egg to hold the ingredients together. Glazing before cooking foods can be brushed with beaten egg in the case of pastries and sausage rolls and so on. And that baking, during baking, the egg glaze goes golden brown. That's before cooking is glazing. Coating. Food can be brushed with egg and dipped in breadcrumbs during cooking. For example, with fish cake, when you want to fry your fish cake and so on. And your meatballs, you can brush it with egg and then put it into the breadcrumbs. The breadcrumbs during the egg during cooking coagulates and it holds the product together. Trapping air is interesting. The protein in egg white stretches when beaten and traps air. Example, in cake making, when you are beating the egg and you see those bubbles, those bubbles there are trapping air, and that air there is released into the mixture when you're mixing your egg with your creamed mixture, and it's able to add air, and air is a raising agent which can make your cakes lighter. Enriching agent. It can add nutrients and richness to foods. For example, in rich third crust pastry, that is made with ingredients that would give you carbohydrates and fat. To add protein to it, you can add egg. Coagulation. This is when the egg sets and the mixture sets the mixture once it has exceeded 70 degrees. And this happens in quench filling, sorry. Yes. So there we have it. You can tell me which one is which. Which one would you say that is? Is it trapping air, glazing, or binding? That one, trapping air, glazing, or binding. And finally, that one, trapping air, glazing, or binding. So we have the one where it's lightly brushed before cooked, like we explained. That's a recap. And then we have it beaten, which is trapping air. And we have it here, binding ingredients. Here we have it as a coating agent, eggs as a coating agent. In the mayonnaise, it is an emulsification or emulsifying agent. And in custard, it acts as a thickening agent. In salads, a garnish. And in the quench, a coagulation or coagulation agent. Question. Both egg white and the whole egg can trap air because of is it because of the coagulation of the proteins? Is it because of the ability of the protein to mix oil and water together? Is it because of the ability of the ovalbumin, which is a protein, to stretch? Or is it because of the ability of the ability to add nutrients? So there you have it. So you do your elimination. Coagulation has nothing to do with trapping air. Remembering coagulation protein sets. The ability of protein to mix oil and water together. Trapping air? No. That's mix oil and water. That would be emulsification. The ability to add nutrients? No. It won't be anything to do with trapping air. That would be an enriching agent. But eggs, the ability of the protein to stretch. Trapping air. The protein in the egg white stretches when beaten and traps air. Example, cake making. Next question. Alex was involved in a practical where he was responsible for making steamed custard, but refused to use eggs. For this question, choose the reason why Alex should use eggs to make his steamed custard. Is it to ensure that the custard looks appetizing, or to bind all ingredients together, or to thicken the dish, or to allow the oil and liquid to mix? Now, if you would have answered to allow the oil and liquid to mix, then that would have been an emulsification or emulsifying agent. So it's not responsible. It's not a reason why he should refuse to use eggs in the custard. A reason why he should use eggs in the custard, that is it to ensure the custard looks appetizing? That's decoration is there for that. Cherries on top and so on. To bind the ingredients, no, that would be binding. But to thicken the custard or the dish, that will be the reason why he should use eggs in making his steamed custard, and that would be answer C. Effect of heat on eggs. Now, egg protein denatures and coagulates, causing it to set and harden. Egg white becomes opaque. I discussed that earlier. The egg would shrink. The sulfur in egg white protein reacts with iron in the yolk from the iron sulfide to form iron sulfide, which causes the greenish color or the grayish color outside of the yolk of hard-boiled eggs. It destroys bacteria like salmonella. Salmonella is a well-known bacteria found in food from animals. There's a loss of B group vitamins. Remember, the egg has riboflavin, B group. Too much heat causes curdling. Yes, if you overheat the eggs, it would curdle. If you overheat any ingredient that has egg and milk, it would curdle. Now, if overcooked, white becomes tough and rubbery, yolk becomes dry and crumbly. Egg albumin, or the white, which is soluble in cold water, becomes insoluble. Question. Now, Alex decides to make custard with eggs, and upon completion, the milk in the custard curdle. The reason for this is it that the eggs were not whisked correctly? Is it that the incorrect quantity of sugar was used? Is it that the custard was cooked at a high temperature? Or is it that the custard was cooked at a low temperature? Remember, we just discussed why it curdles. Now, the eggs were not whisked correctly would not really cause, what it would cause is that the item wouldn't raise if it's not whisked, because remember, it's whisking, trap air, bubbles, and so on. So you eliminate that one. Incorrect quantity of sugar was used. Sugar does not form the framework of the custard. The key there is custard. And so all that will happen is that the custard wouldn't have taste. The custard was cooked at low temperature, means the custard would not be firm, or it would not form into its gel-like looks. But then again, if you overcook it, then along with the milk, the eggs will curdle, as you would see there. If the mixture gets too hot, the eggs solidify into clumps and separate from the milk, and this is called curdling or breaking. It is the greatest flaw in a custard, as you can see there. I have something for you to think about, so we can finish up. Which came first? Is it the egg or the chicken? We'll debate that later. Thank you for joining me. I hope you were able to learn something. Bye.